First of all, thank you so much for accepting my invitation. You are not a random doctor. You are, well, maybe instead of telling people who you are, maybe you can just simply introduce yourself.
Well, thanks for having me on the program. I'm Dr. Peter Mccullough. I'm an internist, cardiologist, and a trained epidemiologist. I'm in academic clinical practice in Dallas, Texas, United States. And I see patients about half the time and cover hospital duties. And then the other half, I'm involved in scholarship as an author and editor and a investigator. And most recently, in the last 2 years, I've become a media commentator on COVID-19 to basically help guide the United States and countries around the world in terms of the pandemic response.
Well, I'm asking you because, as you know, the system is trying to undermine your credibility. I checked many facts on Google about you. I know the story. I'm with you. So that's why it's so important to tell people who you are. And that's why I'm asking. Can you tell us a little bit more about the publications and about the number of publications?
Yeah, so I've been focused on heart-kidney connections throughout my career, and I've had certainly grant-funded large research projects, and I've worked across clinical trials as a principal investigator, steering committees, various adjudication or data safety monitoring boards, but also I've worked in epidemiologic analyses as well. And so I have over 650 publications in the peer-reviewed literature in the National Library of Medicine, PubMed. My rating in terms of my H-index is high. And I've published in the best journals, New England Journal of Medicine, Lancet, JAMA. And COVID-19, I have over 50 peer-reviewed publications, and including the seminal publications outlining how COVID-19 can be treated early as an outpatient to prevent hospitalization and death. So I'm very experienced as an editor and investigator. I've looked at a lot of data, and I don't think fact checkers will have really anything to fact check, because I've been very careful to cite the data as I always do in my clinical practice and in my research practice.
Okay, this is so important because as far as I know, you and Dr. Malone, you became the public enemy. Now, how do you think why?
No one's ever directly confronted me on anything. No one's even really dared to have a conversation. I think they know that both myself and Dr. Malone have the truth, that we are seeking the truth, and the views that we've taken are closest to the truth. Those that are farther away from the truth, they really don't have any type of standing. So I've never, never had a situation where someone said, well, they want to support a position of therapeutic nihilism for early treatment, or they want to support a position of mass vaccination. It just never happened.
The system is trying to destroy you because you are saying that instead of waiting 2 weeks until somebody is so ill that you need to treat the person in the hospital, you are saying that I mean doctors should treat patients. So there's no need to wait 2 weeks until you will start to treat people, right? Do I understand well?
Yeah, that's true. And the patients strongly support my position, and so do the published studies. Now, we act on the precautionary principle, meaning that this is a mass casualty event. We can't wait for large randomized trials or wait for guidelines that depend on large randomized trials, because those are many years away. We have to take action now with drugs that show a signal of benefit and acceptable safety. And that's what we do. And when we have randomized trials, that's wonderful. But when we don't, we use other sources of data to arrive at our protocols. Our protocols we've been using now for 2 years. So patients want early treatment at home, and those who try to block early treatment or argue against it don't have any standing.
I saw your testimonial which you gave to the Senate in the United States. That was last year or 2 years ago?
In November of 2020.
2020. So that was 1.5 years ago. You said something that there is a lack of compassion instead of treating COVID. Can you tell us more about this?
I've said that we've evolved into a crisis of compassion. I've always treated all my high-risk patients. I've tried to respond to every single call, getting patients the medications they need to avoid hospitalization and death. But not all doctors have acted honorably as I have. And so we really have fallen into a crisis of compassion. Many doctors have told patients that there's no treatment for COVID-19. And many doctors have actually denied treatment to COVID-19. In fact, there are pharmacy boards and medical associations like the American Medical Association that have specifically taken a view that they want to deny early treatment to patients. That's what's called therapeutic nihilism. It's fundamentally wrong. It's creating injury, it's creating fear, suffering. It's driving hospitalization and death. And it does basically result in a crisis of compassion, and patients know it.
Okay, you're a very experienced doctor, and there are many young doctors who maybe they don't agree with the system, but they are at the same time the part of the system. So what is the message from the doctor with so strong experience to them? If they are afraid to treat, you know how the system works. If you treat people and if there is some like deaths, so people can sue them. So they are maybe afraid. So it's easier for them to go along with the system. So what is a message from the doctor like you to young doctors if you think we can treat or we know how to treat people with COVID-19?
There's a difference between being a very intelligent young doctor and then being a doctor who has a strong mind. I think those doctors who have strong minds understand that early treatment is fundamental to treating any fatal infection. And so what I encourage those young, intelligent doctors to do is strengthen their minds. They need to have a much stronger grip on a terribly important issue, which is the Hippocratic Oath and their fundamental commitment to helping patients. And that should reign supreme. It should reign supreme over fear, any threats of retribution. They should be absolutely the champions for their patients, and when they're not, they're letting their patients down.
Okay, just to clarify, in Poland we have small associations of doctors, lawyers, soldiers who are trying to fight against the system, but it's really difficult because every time, if there is a doctor in Poland who is trying to fight against the system, there is a bigger association who is just trying to destroy these doctors, or like mark them as a fake whatever. They are trying to undermine the credibility of these doctors. Can you tell us a little bit more from your experience about treating people from the moment that they are aware that there is something wrong, like they cough or they have a high fever?
In a recent paper with the first author, Fazio and colleagues, we examined this issue of what is early treatment. It was published in the Medical Monitor. And we found a golden time period was the first 3 days, that if we could get treatment started in the first 3 days, and just simple things, drugs to reduce viral replication, and then forms of anti-inflammatories, and then ultimately antiplatelet and anticoagulants in a sequenced manner. If we can get started in the first 3 days, there's a giant difference in terms of risk of hospitalization and death. And it's only applied to our high-risk seniors. So no doctor should feel overwhelmed with this simple concept. They would do the same thing for pneumococcal pneumonia or any other form of pneumonia. It's no different.
Professor, please accept my warm words from Poland. We really appreciate the God that professors like you exist, and thank you for everything you are doing. I know how it's difficult, so the question is not the medical question. Now it's about being a human. How do you deal with the hate, which is probably also hitting you from the system?
I've never had anybody directly try to deliver a hateful message or even engage in a conversation. So I'm happy to discuss information fairly with individuals. I'm happy to go over clinical trials. I'm happy to help other doctors elevate their game and develop strength in their convictions towards treating patients. And I welcome them into my circles.
Do you feel the support from the society, from free people?
Yes, there is overwhelming support from the public, and there's no doubt about it. The public is not happy with doctors and hospitals denying treatment, and they're not happy with being hospitalized late in the course of care. So it's clear the public wants early treatment.
Okay, in the last year, you've lost more friends or you got more friends?
I've gained a lot more. Thanks.
Okay, so you have the feeling that you are doing great, and this is exactly what I also feel and think. Let me come back to the moment where you testified to Texas Senate committee. That was 1 year ago or something like this. Can you tell us a little bit more about this, because that it can build your credibility and show us that you are really important in the United States?
Yeah, I testified in the Texas Senate on March 10th, 2021, and to the Division of Health and Human Services. And I told them that early treatment is associated with 85% reductions in hospitalizations and deaths. I estimated that 85% of the losses of life could have been prevented. And I charged them with getting information on the availability of monoclonal antibodies and other drugs that can be used in sequence to treat COVID-19. I really charged them with a lack of a duty, that they had not fulfilled their duty as a health and human services committee. They had been focusing on masks or hand sanitizers or vaccines. None of those treat sick patients. Sick patients want treatment. They don't want to hear about vaccines, masks.
So as a professor, as a doctor, with your strong experience, what would you say, what is more important, to be vaccinated or to be treated properly from the first days of the illness?
It's far more. Vaccinated and unvaccinated still get sick with COVID-19. Certainly through the Delta outbreak, we had papers from the United States by a young Jew published in JAMA showing with Delta,
Okay, can you tell us more about this early treatment? Because in Poland, if you are sick, they keep you locked at home, literally. They don't take you to the hospital. As long as you are well, you can stay at home. But if there is something bad going on with your health, then you need to go to the hospital, which usually is too late for you. So can you tell us a little bit more about this early treatment? Because this is something which is not popular. This is not a popular subject in Poland. Like, in my country, it looks like if you are sick, stay at home. If you are badly sick, welcome to the hospital. So
chowdery, it had a large impact on reducing hospitalization and death. So to prevent acquisition of COVID-19. And in the 12 randomized trials, it has a strong impact, over 70% improvement when this is done. So this is a simple measure. a handful of studies. And now we have a new Pfizer drug, which is a combination kinase-like 3 inhibitor plus ritonavir, or the new Merck drug, which is molnupiravir. So we have oral antivirals. And help patients get through the crisis. In high-risk seniors, there's about an 85% reduction in hospitalization and death, and shown in papers with fair comparator groups by Proctor, Zelenko, and Riault in France.
Well, I'm surprised because in my country, many doctors keep saying that treating COVID is not possible. So are you feeling alone in the United States, or there is an association or the group or a foundation, or are you alone, or there are more doctors, brave doctors, professors like you?
I'm definitely not alone. The Association of American Physicians and Surgeons has had a home treatment guide based on these principles for 18 months, and they strongly support early treatment. They keep a list of doctors in the United States who do practice early treatment. The Truth for Health Foundation, American Frontline Doctors also support these principles. And then the Frontline Critical Care Consortium, they have slightly different but same principles. They also strongly support early treatment. We have 4 national telemedicine services. We've got 15 regional services. So in the United States, we clearly have a commitment to early treatment.
Okay, talking about numbers, how many patients have you treated, or how many people have you helped in the last year in terms of COVID-19?
Personally, I've treated over 200 patients, and I've advised on thousands of patients. It's hard to keep track. In the last Omicron outbreak, I've literally had dozens and dozens of patients call in or come into the it's like a head cold. It just
Professor, are you ready for a tough question?
I am.
Okay, who is behind the scene?
I can't tell you. People ask me that all the time. I don't have any inside knowledge, but there clearly are forces at work that are trying to deny early treatment to individuals, trying to produce as much suffering forces at work, and they seem to have no signs of stopping at this point in time, and they're going to simply try to do everything possible to continue to force the vaccines on the population, which doesn't want them.
Okay, generally, as a professor, as a doctor, and I'm not well, that will be an honest question. Are you supporting, or you are saying it's not necessary to be vaccinated? If you are supporting or declining against COVID-19, everybody should be vaccinated, or everybody should be not vaccinated? What is your position, and what is your comment on that as a doctor?
More cases now of COVID-19 than we've ever had before the mass vaccination program. So on a population basis, the mass vaccination program has failed. Our CDC director came out last summer and told Americans that the CDC does not stop transmission. And there's multiple studies, Fair and Hope, Venkata Krishnan, Chow, many of them showing there's no difference or no basically benefit of stopping transmission. A paper by Singarajan in Lancet showed that 39% of all transmission is fully vaccinated to fully vaccinated. And now we have data that's come in from a variety of sources, one from Zheng Yu published in JAMA.
More and use your wisdom. Is there a website or a place in the internet which people can visit and read something or see the videos? Is there a place? For physicians, I recommend the Association of American Physicians and Surgeons. They keep a library of all the teaching videos and the certified continuing medical education presentations on early treatment. For the public, I recommend America Out Loud Talk Radio, the McCullough Report. I do a weekly report to the country on the COVID-19 pandemic cited, and I have nice fun sections to the program, including music and others. And I've invited doctors, nurses, others in the field. And then for public health advocacy, I suggest the Truth for Health Foundation, truthforhealth.org. I'm the volunteer chief medical advisor for that organization. Can only give my advice, and but it is taken at very high levels in the United States. I was on national TV last night. I'm frequently on national TV giving my advice to Americans almost on a weekly basis. Professor Peter Mccullough, that was a real pleasure to have you on my channel. That was a real, absolutely honor. I wish you all the best. Thank you for accepting my invitation. And with people like you, the world will become much better. So thank you so much, Professor, and have a good day.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.